Hey, welcome back to Crimes and Closets. This is Beth in my closet in North Carolina.
And this is Christy in my closet in St. Louis.
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
Are you happy?
Sure.
I'm happy to see you.
I mean, we're finally out of January.
Oh my gosh. 397 years later, we're out of January.
You know, it's so funny. I always see the memes and stuff about it. And I think I don't really pay attention. I'm like, it's so freaking true. Like, didn't January happen like 3 months ago? Like,
yes.
It takes forever.
Started 3 months ago.
Yeah.
It's like that every year.
I guess I just never felt it that bad until like this year. And there's no reason for it this year. Like, it's not like I'm like, oh my gosh. I mean, I think it's the cold weather. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's making it drag on that we don't typically have for like long periods of time. So maybe that's
You had snow for like weeks on end.
There's still snow.
It was 68 degrees here yesterday.
Oh, it's going to be 64 on Sunday. So like it's going to, if it's not gone before Sunday, because it's been in the 50s the last few days, if they're not gone, then it will be by Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
It'll be gone.
Yeah.
It's almost gone by my house, but.
Anyway. Well, what's your news? Do you have any news? We have news.
And I have a quick story. I mean, it's kind of silly. I'm probably the only one that's going to care about it, but I was like so excited about it that I want to share it. But anyway, okay. The first news is that Natalie Cochran, this case we did, gosh, I forgot to look when we did it, but we did it a while back. It was West Virginia case. She was convicted initially of a Ponzi scheme, but she also was suspected of murdering her husband, who was like in his 30s and just like died one day. And like she had called like friends over to like help her with everything. And it was kind of like a weird situation. And so it was
suspicious behavior.
Yes. And there was thought that, and I think he was like exhumed several times too. Because they were suspecting insulin poisoning. Was like what it was. Anyway, so her trial was over the last week or so, and our listener Jessica, who actually went to high school with her, I think it was high school. Anyway, she's been like keeping us updated. But yesterday, she was convicted. She was found guilty of murder. So
how many years ago? Wasn't this like you said? I think.
Gosh, I don't remember. It was like early 2000s. I think.
Yeah, long time, like 20 years.
Yes, and she was like convicted maybe in 2011 with the Ponzi scheme. And anyway, but it's just how long it's taken. Like they did charge her, but then they like, I feel like took the charges back because they were like, we don't have enough to like, and we don't want to have like the whole, what's that thing called?
Double jeopardy
thing. They really wanted to make sure they had it. So they like withdrew the charges and now they are back again. And she's convicted. So... Well, yesterday meaning January 29th, by the way, because this will come out later. And on the 30th, which maybe we might have an update again, she's supposed to get her sentencing. But in West Virginia, there's a mercy law that the jury basically, they do like another mini trial for the sentencing. And the jury then has to decide whether they're going to have mercy on her. And if they do, then she gets 15 years. And if they don't, then she gets life, which is interesting.
It is interesting. We were talking about this before, and that's really strange. Leave it to West Virginia, though, to have like an oddball rule like that.
Yeah, I don't know why they would have mercy on her, because she just seems like she's a pretty despicable person.
I was going to ask that, but then I didn't want to be mean, but also murder.
Yeah, and she clearly was like
mean.
The Ponzi scheme, like she's not making good choices in any part of her life.
Right.
So...
And she was a pharmacist, too, which is just interesting that a pharmacist would kill her husband with insulin.
But she would know that. I mean, not that people don't know, but like she
know.
Has the knowledge for it. So
right. And the means to get stuff.
Yeah. So anyway, yay.
Maniacal is what it is.
I know. I feel like we did that story so long ago, too. I forgot to look it up when we did it, but it's like it's taken forever. So
forever.
Anyway, also the other thing, this is just a quick little story. So I went to a concert the other day with my hubby, It was a Christmas present for him to go see one of his favorite hip hop groups. But the concert was an hour and 45 minutes away. And so it was like on a Tuesday. So it was like we were driving there, having dinner, having concert, driving home. So long night. Anyway, I also recently got a new car, and I'm very excited about it, and I freaking love it, and it's like my favorite car ever.
Wow.
Yeah, it really is. But it has this feature, which is not new by any means, but I've never had it, which is a hands-free mode of driving.
Oh, like, interesting.
Literally drives itself.
That makes me so nervous.
So it made me nervous at certain points. But I was like, this is the kind of thing I'm going to test it on, like, and try it out on, because I'm just going and we're going. It's a road trip.
Yeah,
I'm not going to use it riding, around here every day. So anyways, it's a 3-month trial that's free. You get it for free.
Well, you have to pay for it.
Otherwise, it's a paid subscription, which the lady who sold me the car, she's like, I would never pay for this monthly. She said she just gets it because she's works for the dealership. She said, but it is a nice feature, and that I would, pay for it. Like if you're having a road trip, pay for it for that month so that you can use it. And I'm like, oh, true. I used to do that with like internet. We'd pay for it because the kids would then have internet in the car and like be able to do whatever on a long road trip. So I'm like, I could see myself doing that. Like, okay, I'll pay for it this month. And now especially. So you put it on, and it's like called Blue something, Blue Drive or whatever. It's a Ford. And you set, it's like cruise control. It's basically, that's what it is. So it maintains the speed. I was sitting in the driver's seat the entire way. You have to be looking forward because there are sensors in your steering wheel to make sure that your eyes are on the road. So if you're like messing with the radio or your phone for too long, it'll be like, grab the wheel, you jerk. Like,
okay. Like, that makes me feel a little better.
No. And if it's in a spot that is having a hard time sensing the like lanes, like they got narrow at some point because of construction, it's like, please take the wheel because this is now not safe for me to be doing this by myself.
Okay.
So it has some good features.
So she's reasonable.
She's reasonable. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So anyway, but I just sat there with my hands in my like lap and my feet like doing whatever, because I don't even have to brake. It brakes if there's a car that comes in front of you. It will brake and slow down. It will speed back up to the speed that you set it at.
Oh my god!
If I want to switch lanes, I just turn the blinker on and it does it for me.
Shut up.
It's like, everyone kept looking at me and was like, I should have gotten a Ford.
Oh my gosh, who knew?
Yeah. It was
a time to be alive.
It was amazing because they do make me nervous. Like it's not really, I guess it is kind of self-driving. And anyway, but I don't know. It was like, it was so nice to just be able to like sit there and like not have to worry about it.
I think I would not be able to relax.
I did the only time because now on the way there it was a little different because we had some traffic, so I wasn't using it a lot. It was more on the way home, and it was almost like it was 11 p.m. Nobody's on this road, so it was like straight away. The only time it made me nervous was when I was passing a big semi, and I felt like, oh my gosh, what if the semi starts coming in? Like, and so I like had my hands ready to grab the wheel, but every time it was fine. It maneuvered fine. So I was nervous at first, but now I'm like, I really feel like I could trust it.
She's gained your trust. I love that for you. Listen, I have the parking thing on my car.
Oh, yeah.
My big car. And I thought that was just honey from heaven. Like, I thought that was the greatest thing ever. Yeah, because I'm not a parallel parker.
Oh, I can.
Of a car of any size. And, well, you are way better, and you're a backer inner. And I'm not that either. But sometimes I want to back in because I know it's going to be hairy to back out. Yeah. And I don't want to do it by myself. And so I just let her go.
Yeah.
And she does it for me. And
that's nice.
I'm okay with that.
Emery has supposedly the thing where you can hit it like on your remote and it'll pull back out for you without you even being in the car.
Oh.
Like it'll pull out of a spot. And I think that's like for like use if you're like in a tight spot and you know how sometimes you're like, I'll get in and pull out. Like this will just do it for you.
Right.
So you can get in. We haven't tried it yet. I mean, we tried it in the like driveway, but I think you have to have like it has to have like lines to like sense.
Oh,
and that
like
it won't just like back out somewhere that you're telling it to back out. So
yeah.
Anyway, so I don't know. I think we have to play with it and see.
Yeah. And there's smart cars with Christy and Beth.
Yeah, there you go.
I love that.
We've joined the like future, guys. We've joined the future.
Well, you have. I'm not.
Anyway, that's it. That's all I got. Was that enough?
Okay. That's enough. We also have some news.
Yes.
Do you want to tell the news?
I don't. Okay.
It's sad news.
Well, guys, some people may have saw this coming, but maybe some didn't. We have decided that we are going to turn the mics off.
Yes.
Yeah. We had always said that we would stop when we weren't having fun. And it's not that we aren't like we're miserable, but it's not like the way it was in the beginning. And like it takes
Well, we're in different stages in our lives now.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. It takes a lot of time to do this when you're doing it all. And we both have 3 kids. We both have a husband. We both have other responsibilities and other things that we also want to do that I felt like, for me personally, I didn't have time to dedicate to other fun things because I was always doing this or like had to do this, which is why we went to every other week, which made it easier. But we just think it's time. We think it's run its course. It's gotten to a place where we never thought it would get.
Yeah,
honestly.
5 years.
Yeah.
It's been 5 whole years.
Yeah. Yeah. Who knew?
Yeah. No, certainly not us.
I never thought it would last this long.
Right. No, exactly. Me either. And we're super thankful that it did. But yeah, so nothing's wrong. Everything is fine. We're still besties. We will always be best friends. We will always hide in our closets. But yeah. Yeah. That's the news. Now, this is not happening right away. We are thinking we're going to the end of March. So at least like March 31st, which will be our 5-year anniversary, which makes us very proud that we're making it all the way to that. So we'll have episodes for you, but we wanted to let you know it is coming. It is sad, and we will do something special at the end.
Yeah. Yeah. Keep an eye on social media because we might be asking you for suggestions.
Yes, we definitely will be asking. So go and look at our posts on social media, and I'll do a story too, probably, because more people look at that. But yeah, we'll let you guys weigh in on the end game.
Yes,
and what that's going to look like. So there's that. There's the news. Don't be sad. We'll still be with you for a few more Mondays.
And it'll still be on the feed. And who knows? Forever. Maybe we'll like all of a sudden randomly find a case and be like, yeah, let's throw one up there.
So I like that you said that actually, because Wes actually mentioned that to me. He was like, you are going to miss it a little.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I agree that, like, so maybe it's October and I'm like, man, I've been following this case and I want to do an episode on it. Will you get on and record with me?
Right. Yeah.
And we can do that if we want to.
Yep.
Forever.
We can. Because we own it.
So we sure do. It's our content, baby. Anyway, so we're not promising that's going to happen, but it might. So still keep us in your feed.
I could see it happening, honestly.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. Well, there's that. So let's get to another sad topic, which is a case.
All right.
Okay. Okay. So this case was suggested to us by a person who would like to remain anonymous.
Okay.
I could tell you who it is after
later. Okay, got it.
But this person was close to the person who died. One of the people who died. Okay. So the connections that we have with this one woman that tragically died are wild.
Yeah, you mentioned this, and so I'm really curious about how this is like paralleling.
Oh, it's wild. And you actually mentioned that a friend of yours suggested it to you as well, and it was on your list because it's local to you. So we're going to be in the loo today.
Okay. Yeah, and see, I don't know a whole lot about it to know what you might be talking about. Like, I know basics, but like not the whole like all these parallels that you're talking about or like similarities. So
truly weird. Okay. So, it's this very suspicious case. Maybe murder, maybe not murder, maybe a couple murders, maybe no murders.
Wow.
So this is the death of Sarah Sweeney.
Yes.
Okay. Sarah Kathleen Sweeney was born November 2nd of 1984, making her a fellow Scorpio girly. She was born to parents Stephen and Teresa in Huntington, West Virginia.
Whoa.
Yes. She had one brother. At some point, Sarah's father passed away, and her mom remarried a man named Charles Light, and the family relocated to, any guesses?
St. Louis, Missouri.
North Carolina.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I went there.
Isn't that weird?
Wow.
We're coming to the Lou.
Okay.
But first, we're coming to me. So, okay, I should say this. West Virginia, right outside of Huntington, is where I am from originally and live in North Carolina now. Okay, so at 6 years old, Sarah was diagnosed with Perthes disease. I think that's how you say it. If howtopronounce.com steered me wrong, I am sorry. Okay, so this is when the blood supply to the bones in the hip begin to die. And it permanently affects the growth of the hip bone.
Okay.
And because of this condition, Sarah was in chronic pain, like all of her life.
Oh, gosh.
Pretty much, which she managed with medication.
Okay, I was going to say, was there nothing you can do to, like, stop that, or?
Well, once it happens, it's happened. It's just a matter of how quickly you catch it. But, like, if the bone is deteriorated, there's not really much you can do. I actually know somebody that had this happen, and they ended up having to have a hip replacement.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Can you do a hip replacement later on? But if then I was like, well, what about the bone? Like, anyways, go ahead.
I think it's case by case. It's all different, depending on the grade and level and all that stuff. Okay. So at 11 years old, Sarah made a Christian profession of faith, and she leaned on strength from God to manage her chronic disease and not let it get her down. Okay. So that was a big part of her life. And it sure did not get her down, let me tell you. She kind of reminds me of our last case, by the way. That Linda Treen, like a total baddie. Just awesome. Cool. Okay, so Sarah graduated from East Forsyth High School in Kernersville, North Carolina in 2003. From there, she came to Raleigh and attended NC State, where she was in the Delta Zeta sorority. She graduated from there in 2007 with 2 degrees, one in microbiology and another in biological sciences, with a minor in biochemistry.
So really smarter than me.
Yeah, meh, not necessarily smarter than you. Different kind of smart.
Yeah, that's true.
So she then went on to Barry University School of it's podiatry school.
Okay.
It's I don't know how to say it.
Okay.
Podiatric medicine? Does that sound right? Anyways. So she went to podiatry school in Miami Shores, Florida.
Okay.
In April of 2012, she received her doctorate degree in podiatry. She completed her surgical residency in several hospitals in the Miami Shores area. She then moved to Texas and practiced medicine there for a few years until finally moving to St. Louis, Missouri.
Awesome.
She opened up her own podiatry practice in Creve Coeur, Missouri.
Oh, that's big. That's like not close, not close, not far from here.
Yeah, it says it was a suburb of St. Louis. Is that right?
Yes. Okay. It's actually where a lot of people move to, like, for Jones. It's like supposed to be like a very good place to go, and schools and all that kind of stuff.
Okay. Sarah is described as vibrant and outgoing and never met a stranger. She rescued several dogs and cats. She was an excellent pianist and artist. She loved her patients, helping people, fashion, purses, and jewelry.
Okay.
Her mother said that she became an example of how hard work, faith in God, and perseverance can overcome obstacles. See? Total baddie. Yes. And on top of all of that, she was a freaking knockout.
Oh, man.
Like, gorgeous.
Oh.
Not long after moving to St. Louis, Sarah met herself a handsome firefighter.
Ooh.
His name was Robert Doss Jr., or Rob, as he was known. He was just over 10 years older than Sarah, and they met while Sarah was doing a shift at a local ER. I don't know if he came in as a patient or came in as firefighter with someone or what, but they met there. He had a son from a previous marriage. Rob was a fire captain for the Maryland Heights Fire District.
Oh, that's right here too.
Right. His family also had a successful business called Liberty Artworks, still around actually, that they make memorials for local fire departments and law enforcement.
Okay.
Like ironwork type things. Okay. And Rob served as their vice president. Rob had a beautiful $750,000 home in Westwood, Missouri, and he seemed like a great catch.
Okay.
It's like, does very well financially, popular fire captain, whatever. However, Rob be having himself a past.
Uh-oh.
During their relationship, Sarah found out that Rob was being sued by his ex-fiance's family. And the lawsuit was for wrongful death. So on July 22nd of 2020, around 5 o'clock in the morning, Rob called 911 from his home in Creve Coeur. He lived there at the time. And said, "My fiancée just shot herself. It's a mortal wound." Okay.
It's a what?
A mortal wound.
Okay.
Like she's dead, basically.
Okay.
Police responded to the home and found 35-year-old Grace Holland with a gunshot wound to her left temple. She was laying on her back with her hands on her stomach, and there was a gun near her right hand.
What? How's it her left temple then?
I'm glad you caught that. We're
Okay.
going to talk about that.
And why are her hands on her stomach? She shot herself and then laid them on her stomach?
Right. Super weird.
Okay.
Okay. So Grace, who was a mom to... Oh, and the gun was Rob's, by the way. It was like something that he had in his home. Grace was a mom to 4 daughters, young daughters, not Rob's. She met Rob in 2016, and they had been dating for 4 years. 2 years after they started dating, in 2018, the two of them got engaged, and Rob gave her a gorgeous $20,000 engagement ring. $20,000.
That's expensive.
That would be scary to walk around with, in my opinion.
Oh, okay. I'm sitting here going, he's a firefighter, has this $750,000 house, can afford a 20, but he's also his family has that company, so I'm assuming he's making money from that. So yeah. Okay,
right. And it's a very successful company.
Okay. Because I was like, where's he getting this money from being a firefighter? Not that I'm saying that, I mean, they make decent money, but.
Yeah, they don't make that kind of money. Well, I don't know. I don't know anything about it, actually. So Grace actually at some point during their relationship started working for that Liberty Artworks, the family company. And the two of them had just purchased that $750,000 home in Westwood. But they were in the process of like doing things to it. Like they weren't necessarily fully moved in. So they were still living at the Creve Coeur old home. Right. And like in the process of moving to that one.
Was she found shot?
2020.
Okay. So we were here.
This is recent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Rob claimed that Grace had been depressed, like increasingly depressed over the last several months because of 2 miscarriages that she had suffered. And one was not long before her death. So it was the height of COVID. Too. This is July 2020, and that led a lot of people to feel like isolated, afraid. I mean, we all know there was a lot of mental health things that stem from COVID and continue to. Grace's death was quickly ruled a cut and dry suicide and closed.
Okay.
Grace's family were aware of the miscarriages, and they also did say that Grace had not been herself in like the recent months before her death. However, they had a very different outlook on why she was experiencing like distress and personality changes. Laura, who is Grace's twin sister, said that Rob was controlling during their 4-year-long relationships. The family claims that Rob actually forced Grace to work for his family company and paid her under the table as a way to like control her money and like make her stuck.
Right.
I mean, financial abuse is a thing, right? The family also claims that Rob dictated when Grace could have spent time with her daughters, and he would threaten her ability to have them over if she like didn't do what he wanted. Okay. Like he would be like, well, they can't come this weekend if you do this or that or don't do this, whatever. The family also claims that they suspected domestic violence in the relationship because they would sometimes see like bruising, you know, and she would blame it on being clumsy or whatever, this and that, but they weren't really buying it. They claim that Grace was not suicidal and that she never would have taken her life in that way and left her daughters with like no warning, essentially. The family had text messages between Rob and Grace that indicated verbal abuse and control. The autopsy also showed some suspicious things. Grace did have bruises on various parts of her body. Her $20,000 engagement ring was never found. Never. They have no idea where it is and no answers as to where it could be. But the most odd thing to me is what you picked up on. Grace's bullet wound was on the left side of her head. However, she was right-handed. Meaning she would have had to have held the gun in her non-dominant hand and pulled the trigger.
Yeah.
Which is just, you don't do that, my guys.
Right, but why was the gun by her right hand?
Right, exactly. And none of it makes any sense.
So even if she used her right hand or dominant hand, then she'd have to cross over.
Right.
To the other side.
Very strange. It is also interesting to me that neither Rob or Grace's hands were ever tested for gunshot residue.
Why not? 2020 people, come on.
Yeah, I know that it looked like a suicide, but it's a gunshot wound to the head, which is a suspicious death. It needs to be investigated.
Right, and the way she's found was more suspicious too. So, like, everything. Come on.
Right, agreed. It's also odd that Grace took selfies in her bed at Rob's and her new home in Westwood, the big home that they were fixing up. So she was there the night before she was found. 7 hours later, at 5 o'clock in the morning, she was found dead in the old home.
Wow, so she was there late.
Right. Very strange. So just a bit, and also she was taking selfies. Like, how depressed and in distress could she have been? Right. She didn't send them to anybody. She just took them.
Right.
Like, hey, I'm in my new house. Isn't it gorgeous?
Right.
Okay. So she was born Grace Elizabeth Holland, and she was a proud mother and friend. She is said to have been petite and vibrant, and she had a degree in criminal justice. Okay. She loved to decorate and sing and absolutely loved spending time with her 4 daughters, she's very pretty, and her daughters are just as pretty as she is. It's very sad. Like, they just are all very gorgeous ladies. It is said that she did love Rob, but that she had started to secretly record, like, verbally abusive arguments with him in the months prior to her death. And her family has these recordings. So all of this came out when they filed a wrongful death suit in September of 2023. Okay, so a wrongful death suit, it's like the OJ thing, right? Like, this happened in OJ. They couldn't convict him criminally because they didn't have enough evidence. So you file a wrongful death suit to get things out in the open, like get access of phone records and to get the autopsy reviewed again, in the hopes that then they can be charged criminally. So I think that's their plan. But it just was filed in September of 2023. Okay, that lawsuit states that the family alleges that either Rob shot Grace himself, or that she took her life after years of being subjected to physical and mental abuse.
So either way, he's at fault, is what they're saying.
Correct. Like, if it was suicide, you drove her to that. Okay. So Sarah, who was dating Rob at this time, became, like, when the lawsuit was filed, they were dating. So she became aware because her friends and family started sending her articles and, like, public documents of, like, this is what they're saying he's like. This is who they're saying that your boyfriend is, whatever. So they're concerned about her and Rob's relationship. However, Sarah became upset that her family and friends were, like, doing that and, like, warning her and telling her, like, you need to get away from him. He's not a good guy, blah, blah, blah. So she kind of just stopped responding to them. Like, she cut them off, essentially, which is really sad. Okay, so that brings us to January of 2024. So just a year ago.
Wow.
Very recent. Sarah was 39 years old, and she moved in with Rob. in the big house in Westwood. So they were living together. On January 13th of 2024, Rob called 911 and said that his girlfriend was unresponsive and dead. Police responded to the scene and found a deceased Sarah lying in her and Rob's bed. There were no signs of a struggle and no evidence of trauma or foul play. Like, she didn't have bruises on her, nothing was broken. She just was like died in her sleep, essentially. Sarah's autopsy showed that she passed away. Hold on, I just lost my place. Okay. She died of a lethal overdose of oxycodone, gabapentin, and Benadryl.
Wow.
So her cause of death was listed as a sudden lethal overdose, and her manner of death was deemed undetermined. So
which I'm sure she was taking all of that because of her like pain, because gabapentin's like a nerve blocker, and oxycodone's painkiller, and Benadryl. Got it.
You're absolutely right. Yes.
Okay.
So Sarah's friends and family said that Sarah was prescribed medications due to her chronic health issues. However, she was a doctor, and she had been taking these medications essentially her entire life, and she knew how to manage them, and she didn't abuse them.
Right.
She was
no
very
indication.
Successful. None whatsoever. They also said that there was no way Sarah was suicidal in any way, and that she would not have purposefully overdosed. There was no indication of that whatsoever. After Sarah's death, her loved ones did come forward with text messages from March of 2022. So this is about 10 months before her death. And she was talking to a former coworker, and she said she was like, I don't know if she was having some money issues or whatever, but she felt like she had to move in with Rob at that point. And she said she was moving in with the, quote, murderer. So she called him that. And then at times it was scary, like being with him.
Okay, wait. You said March of 2022.
Right.
Which would have been a little over, more than 10 months before her.
Oh, you're right.
But, so she knew at that point that he had.
Apparently. Maybe it was March 2023. I think I meant 2023.
Okay.
So it was 10 months. Yeah, okay. But the lawsuit wasn't filed until September 2023. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
And it does show that she wasn't completely comfortable with him, in my opinion, and that she was a little so why would she suspect him of being a murderer if he didn't show signs that he potentially could do that to a person, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I would never be like, well, maybe my husband did kill somebody.
Right. Well, I wouldn't refer to him as a murderer. That's
right.
Really exactly. Felt that way.
I agree. Okay, so as of recording, which is January 2025, Sarah's case is not being actively investigated. So the police have no evidence that Rob had anything to do with it, that it's just an accidental overdose as far as they are concerned. The wrongful death lawsuit in Grace's death is still pending, and investigators are looking further into her death. So I did read a couple articles where they were like, yeah, the autopsy is a little suspicious, and it wasn't really investigated.
Okay.
Rob continues to be a captain in the fire department and continues to help run his family's company. He's still listed as the VP. So stay tuned. Follow that one. I'm gonna give this to you because it'll be in your local news. Also, don't call the Maryland Heights Fire Department.
Thankfully, they're not the ones that I would call.
Okay. I mean, it's just sad because we know that in general, domestic violence is very difficult to report and prove, honestly. But especially when the potential abuser, alleged abuser, is involved in law enforcement. Public service. He's connected.
Right.
You can't ever, that's a good old boy mentality. You know what I mean? That would be scary.
Well, and that's why I was wondering if maybe things weren't being investigated just because he's part of that.
That's what the family suspects, is that the reason why it was he said it was a suicide and they were like, okay, Rob.
Right.
Is because he's one of their own. What's that? It's the blue code or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
It's a thing. It's a real thing.
Yeah. I wonder if Sarah's family is considering suing him too, but it's still like very new, so like it might take some time for them to like gather stuff to be able to do it.
To be honest, don't know that they ever will be able to prove that he had anything to do with Sarah's death.
Because of the way it... Yeah. Like,
did he force the pills down her? You know what I mean? Like, did he put him in something?
He crush him up and put him in something.
No, but Sarah, or Grace's, they've got some legs to stand on in that death, I think. So I think if anything happens and it's ever actually proven that he had anything to do with any death, I think it would be Grace's.
Right, but that might help Sarah's family, because they'd be like, well, he did it before.
Right, absolutely. Yes, it definitely would. Now, Grace's family speaks publicly a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, they're very, especially her twin sister, they're very loud. I've not heard anything from Sarah's family. Well, however, the person that sent this case in, it knew Sarah.
Okay. I was going to ask a question, but I won't ask it.
Okay.
I'll ask you after.
Okay. So Grace's twin sister, her name is Laura, like I said, she has publicly said that she does feel guilty about Sarah's death. She said that she feels like she failed to protect Sarah from like the same abuse that Grace suffered. And she's like, I feel responsible. Like, I should have done more. I wish I had done more sooner. But
I get that. I understand that. I mean, yeah, it's not her fault, but I understand why she feels that way. Like,
right.
Yeah. Gosh.
It would be very frustrating to think that this man had something to do with your loved one's death, and you're trying to get law enforcement to do something about it, and then something suspicious happens again. And you're like, guys, I told you, But all of this is alleged. He has not been charged criminally. Any act whatsoever. It is 2 suspicious deaths.
Yes.
He is the common denominator. And that is truthfully the only fact.
And if he did both of them, so if Rob, because you're close to me,
right.
If he would be pretty dumb for him to do this to Sarah at the time that he's being investigated for Grace.
Completely agree with you. And I also have a hard time with motive. Like, why would he want to kill either of these women?
Well, yeah. But also, why is he so abusive? Like, I mean, I don't think
allegedly.
Well, no, that's true. Sorry.
I mean, they do have there are text messages, supposedly, that are in the lawsuit.
Right.
Anyway, there's that. The case of Sarah Sweeney and Grace Holland, the tragic deaths. Just through a little bit over 3 years apart.
Is.
It's sad, right?
Very sad.
Yeah. But I wanted to tell their story and just talk about, like, what awesome women they seemed to have been.
Yeah, no kidding.
I mean, they were your neighbors.
They were. Like, I'm not even kidding, like, not far. Like, I just had to look up Westwood, and Westwood's actually, like, pretty close to, really close. It's right next to one of the doctors I go to. Like, and there's like and Creve Coeur is like 15 minutes, 20 minutes maybe, but that's like very close to where like Emory works.
Okay.
Actually, Emory's office currently is in Maryland Heights.
Oh, well, don't call the fire department, Emory.
Because there's 2 offices, and he works in the one in Maryland Heights now.
Okay.
Yeah. So, anyway.
Yeah, I knew you would recognize all of the names, and I had to work very hard to pronounce Creve Coeur correctly, because I knew you would be like, that's not how you say that.
Well, it's such a weird spelling, too.
It is spelled weird, yeah.
There's so many weird places here, like Desperes. Desperes.
It's very French sounding.
Yeah.
All of them. Very French.
My oldest will not call it Desperes because there's a movie theater that they go to all the time in Desperes, and that's where the mall is and everything too. And he'll be like, "I'm going to Des Perez." That's what he says every time. And I'm like, "You know it's Desperes." He's like, "Yes, but I will not call it that."
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, there's lots of like weird, like that. I'm like, oh, I need somebody to tell me how to say that. That lives here because I don't know how to say it.
Right. Also, isn't it so weird? All of the connections with Sarah, like, so like places she was in Raleigh when I was in Raleigh. You know, she was in we were born just a few years apart in West Virginia.
When was she in Florida?
So after she graduated from NC State, I think it was 2007, something like that.
Well, we were in Florida, but not on that side.
Wait, hold on, I'll tell you. Oh, la. She graduated in 2007.
Yeah.
And so then she went to Florida.
We were in
you were here, right? No, you weren't here.
No, 2007, we were in Florida. We were in St. Pete.
Yeah.
Florida.
Miami Shores is where she was.
Lived on the Gulf.
It's so weird. Oh, Lord. The Gulf of what? Let's don't even go there.
That's what I was saying. Like, I don't want to get into it. We lived on the Gulf.
Yep.
That's where we lived.
Uh-huh. Yeah, but all the connections are so strange to me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, we were literally babies in the same town, and then we were like early 20s in the same town. Yeah. Like, and then she lived there with you.
Right. I know. And it was like, and while I'm here, not like before me or after me or like whatever. Like,
yeah.
Well, not after me.
And that's another reason why I really wanted to do the case, is just because I was like, gosh, I totally could have met her. Like, you know?
Right. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Anyway.
Well, thank you for diving in. Thank you, Anonymous, for sending it our way.
Yes, thank you.
Sorry about your friend.
Yes.
I'm glad we could shine some light on it, and hopefully something else comes of this, that more information will come out as time goes on.
Something will happen.
It's funny because it's not like I've seen it. I watch the news all the time. You know me. Like, I shouldn't say all the time. Every morning I turn it on, and depending on what time I get on, the local news is on, and then the Today Show is. I haven't seen anything on local news. And every now and then I listen to the news at like 4 p.m. I haven't seen anything on it, which is interesting to me.
Well, so I remember you saying that you recognize the name, but I'm assuming that's just because it was on your list.
Because I was told about it and that I should look into it. And so like I literally like Googled it briefly and knew that, okay, it's close by. Literally knew nothing really about it.
You should tell the person that sent it to you that we did it.
Yeah. I will.
Nice.
So
hopefully they actually listen and we'll just know.
Well, that's probably the case.
Yes.
Anyways, thank you for doing that. Thanks for diving in. And I'm looking forward to seeing pictures. I'm assuming you're going to put Grace and Sarah.
Oh, totally. Yes. They're both gorgeous.
Yeah.
Like for real. And awesome. They were awesome.
I know.
And so young. 35 and 39.
Gosh. Ugh. This is also why we have to stop.
Yeah.
I'm just tired of the like.
It's sad. Terrible, tragic.
The tragedies and the details and you guys have to understand. I mean, you're listening to it, but.
They're like, we love it.
Yeah. I mean, and I still listen to some stuff, and I probably will still, because crime does fascinate me, but it's a different scenario when you're like reading it over and over
and seeing their faces and seeing how like this Sarah, she overcame so much. And it's like, for this to have happened so tragically is like, so unfair.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway. All right. Well, thanks for joining us. Join us again in a couple weeks for another episode, and for the next little over a month that we will be doing this. And we appreciate you listening, and come check us out on social media. And always remember, the world is scary. People suck. Hide in your closets.